We will do the calculations that will be recorded in the debtors allowances journal now. In the first entry, they say a credit note was issued to a debtor for 690 Rand. If that is the amount on the credit note, it means it includes the VAT, so it's 690 Rand. The cost price is 100%. The debtor's allowances is 100 and VAT is 150. To calculate the debtor's allowances, I will take the percentage that I want over the percentage that I know, 115 times 690, and that will give me 600 Rand. If I do it in the table, it means that I will show that the 690 includes the VAT, so it equals 115%. If I want the VAT, the percentage that I want over the one that we know, 115 times 690, and that will give me 90 Rand, that output. And the debtor's allowances will be the one that I want over the one that I know times 690, and that will give me 600 Rand. Then I have to calculate the cost of sales. So it means that I must read the information, and they say the profit is 80% on cost price. So the cost price is 100%, the profit is 80%, and the sales price is 180. We know the sales price. Now remember, you have to take the amount excluding the VAT, because we can't take VAT into account when we determine our sales price or our cost price. If we want to calculate the cost price, it will be the 600 times the percentage that we want, 100, over the percentage that we know, 180, and that will give us 333 Rand. So the cost of sales will be 333 Rand. I'm going to do each one of these individually again in the ledger, just to make sure that you understand how it will be done. If you do an actual journal, you will add up and you will just do one entry in the ledger for each one of the columns. Okay, so first of all, the debtors must increase with 690. So it means debtors increase on the debit side, decrease on the credit side. They returned goods, so we have to credit the account with the 600 and the 90 Rand. And we will indicate that debtors allowances will decrease my income with the 600, and VAT output will now be debited with 90 Rand, because I want to show that the VAT that we have to pay to SARS will decrease. Because the goods were returned, we didn't collect this 90 Rand on behalf of SARS. If we look at the number 2, they say goods returned with a cost price of 800, VAT excluded, that was damaged during delivery, profit of 60% on cost. Okay, it's the cost price that's given, VAT excluded, so the cost price is 800 Rand. And if we look in the calculations, if I want to know what is the debtors allowances, I will say the profit is 60%, so it means that I have to calculate the 60% to get the debtors allowances. So they give me the sales price as cost price, the cost price is 800. So I will show here that the cost price is 800. We make a profit of 60% on cost price. So the sales price will be 160 divided by the one that I know times 800, and that will give me 1,280. Now I know my sales price. that I will use for debtors allowances. So I can show the debtors allowances excluding the VAT is 1280. If I want to calculate the VAT, the percentage that we want over the percentage 100 that we know times 1280 will give me 192 rand. And then the debtors allowances will be, we want 115 divided by the one that we know times 1280, and that will give me 1472. Okay, so the debtors control amount includes the VAT, so it will be 1472 that we will decrease our debtors with. The allowances will be 1280. The cost of sales was given to us, and we calculated the VAT as 192 rand. If we transfer this to our ledger, we will show that the debtors must decrease with a total of 141,472. Of that, 1,280 is debtors allowances, and my double entry will be in debtors allowances. Then the VAT output is 192 rand, and I will indicate that the VAT that we have to pay to SARS will decrease with 192 rand. And then for the cost of sales, we will show for the first one that the cost of sales was 100 rand. That's what we call 333, and I will determine the cost of sales must decrease because we're not selling it anymore, and we will debit trading stock because the goods are returned and the trading stock is increased. In number 2, we will also show that the cost of sales will decrease with the 800 rand, and my trading stock will increase with the 800 rand. Okay, in number 3, goods damaged during delivery that's not returned. So it means the goods were so badly damaged that the people didn't even return it, and that amount excludes the VAT 3,000. So because we were responsible for the delivery and the goods were damaged during delivery, we will give a credit note to the customer and we will decrease his account with a full amount. But we will not show that we received the goods back. So no entry will be done in the cost of sales because we don't get the goods back, so we don't have more inventory, and the cost of sales is not decreased because we didn't receive the goods. Okay, that excluded, the damaged goods is 3,000, so the debtors allowances is 3,000. Then we have to calculate what is the debtors control, so the one that we want, 115, divide by 100 times 3,000. So I will show that the debtors allowances is 3,000. The 115 that we want to calculate over the 100 that we know times the 3,000 will give me 3,450. And that means that the debtors will be decreased with 3,450. To calculate the VAT on that entry, we will say the 15 divided by the 100 because we know the 100, and that will give me 450 rand. Okay, so for the VAT we will say 15 divided by 115 because we know what is the 3,440. Or if you want to calculate it on the 3,000 amount, you will say 15 divided by 100 times 3,450, and we will get the 450. So my debtors must decrease in total with 3,450, So of that 3,450, 3,000 is the debtors allowances amount excluding the VAT, and the VAT amount is 450. So we decrease our debtors with the full amount, and we will show that we will pay less VAT to SARS 450. Because the goods were not returned, we will not do an entry for cost of sales. Okay, if we look at number 4, the VAT on goods returned is 90. So in this case, they give us the VAT, the 90. Okay, so that means we know the 15%. So if I want to know what's the debtors allowances, I will have to say 100% over the one that we know, 15 times the 90. Okay, so it means I will say the VAT gives me 90. The debtors allowances is the 100 divided by the 15 times the 90, and that will give me 600 rand. And if I want to calculate the debtors amount, it means I want to know what is the 115 divided by the one that we know, 15 times 90, and that will give me 690 rand. So the debtors will decrease with 690. Debtors allowances will increase with a 600, and the VAT will be the 90 amount. Then we make a profit of 75% on cost. So the cost price is 100, profit 75, sales price is 175. We know that the sales price is 600, and that means we can calculate the cost price now. So excluding the VAT, the sales price was 600. So if I want the cost price, 100 divided by 175 times 600, and that will give me 343 rand. And I will show in my cost of sales 343 rand. Okay, so my debtors must decrease with 690, of which 600 is debtors allowances. VAT is 90. We will decrease the VAT with 90. Now the goods were returned, so the cost of sales is 343. So my trading stock increased with 343, and my cost of sales will decrease with 343 rand.